The stars above Proxima Centauri shimmered like distant diamonds, silent, indifferent. But the void between them screamed. A ripple tore through space, followed by a thunderous distortion. The Vraxx had arrived. Like a swarm of obsidian locusts, their biomechanical ships poured out of subspace, serrated, chitin-armored horrors that emitted psychic screeches into the void. No demands. No warnings. Just violence. Commander Reyna Talvek stood at the command deck of the human cruiser Harmony's Blade, hands clenched behind her back, jaw set like stone. Before her, holographic projections flickered, icons marking enemy movement, red clouds blotting out friendly green. The outer colonies had fallen in weeks. Now, Proxima Centauri, the last major stronghold before Earth, was in their path. Around her, officers worked in grim silence. There were no reinforcements coming. The Earth Defense Council had already sent word, hold as long as you can. Earth is fortifying. That was a polite way of saying, you're on your own. Reyna didn't blame them. The distance between Proxima and Sol was immense, and warp jump logistics weren't simple. Even if Earth wanted to send help, it would take time they didn't have. The Vraxx swarm filled the outer perimeter of Proxima's defense grid within minutes. Automated defense satellites flared as they engaged, but the aliens cut through them like they were nothing. Their ships moved like beasts, not machines, organic armor flexing, tendrils twitching, some even pulsing with bioluminescence as if they were alive. All vessels, form battle line Sigma, Reyna ordered. Her voice was calm, measured. Target leading clusters. Fire at will. The human fleet, 93 ships, most outdated, many held together by desperation, shifted formation. Missile pods fired. Plasma cannons roared. For a moment, it felt like they had a chance. Then the swarm responded. Bladed drones burst from the Vraxx ships like spores, slamming into human vessels and slicing through hulls with surgical precision. Communications lit up with screams, static, and emergency calls. The Andromar is gone. We're losing life support on decks 4 through. There's something inside, it's boarding us. A chill settled in Reyna's chest. This was it. The final stand. She opened a private channel to the fleet, we make our stand here. Every second we buy is another second for Earth. Make it count. Proxima will not fall quietly. But just as the main bulk of the Vraxx fleet surged forward, something shifted in space. A ripple. A singularity. A distortion, like space itself was being peeled back. Then it appeared. A leviathan of metal and fire. The EDS Leviathan, Earth's dreadnought-class warship, thought to still be in Sol's orbit, roared into real space with a blinding burst of energy. Over 2 kilometers long, bristling with weaponry, its black hull shimmered with a new kind of armor, one that bent light itself. No fanfare. No grand announcement. It simply arrived and unleashed hell. This is Leviathan Actual to all Proxima forces, a cold, steady voice echoed across the fleet channels. You may stand down from primary engagement. We're taking command of the field. Dozens of turrets locked onto the Vraxx swarm. Antimatter lances fired white-hot beams that sliced through alien ships with surgical efficiency. Shockwave missiles detonated with such power they bent nearby space. The dreadnought moved like a predator among prey, precise and unrelenting. Reyna stared at the holograms, disbelief and hope mixing dangerously in her chest. Get me a direct link to Leviathan. Now. The connection clicked. This is Commander Talvek. You're not supposed to be here. Orders changed, the Leviathan's AI replied. The Council authorized Intervention Protocol Omega. Reyna swallowed hard. Omega. The last resort directive. She hadn't believed it was real. What are you deploying? She asked. Everything. Inside the Leviathan, deep within its core, a weapon spun to life one humanity had never dared test in open space. The Singularity Lance. Designed to puncture the heart of a star. Now, it would be used on a Vraxx command hive. Coordinates locked. Energy levels spiked. Brace for rupture, the AI warned. The space around the Leviathan shimmered, and the lance fired. A thin beam, almost elegant, tore forward. It passed cleanly through space, struck the hive ship, and then reality cracked. A singularity exploded in the center of the Vraxx formation. Ships were torn inside out, their forms crumpled like paper in a storm. The psychic screams of the swarm echoed across every human ship. Crews clutched their heads, eyes bleeding from the pressure, but the dreadnought stood firm. As the shockwave dissipated, silence followed. Only wreckage remained. The Vraxx formation was broken. Scattered. Retreating into subspace like shadows recoiling from light. Cheers broke out across the fleet. Ships powered down weapons. Damage control began. But Reyna didn't smile. "Leviathan," she said, "you came just in time." The AI responded after a pause. "We came too late for hundreds of colonies. But we'll hold here." She glanced at the sensor logs. Dozens of Vraxx ships still lingered in distant shadows, lurking, watching. "They'll be back," she said. "Yes," the AI agreed. "But now they know what we are." A silence passed between human and machine. Then the AI added, "Commander, this was only the first wave." The stars beyond the Kuiper belt dimmed as something ancient approached. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't a message. It was a scream, one that echoed across subspace, triggering early warning sensors and psych-reactive satellites in over a dozen systems. The Vraxx had returned. From deep within a nebula near the galactic halo, they emerged. Twisting, biomechanical monstrosities shaped like warped crustaceans and murder-spiked titans. The last time they were seen, Earth had only just discovered faster-than-light travel. That was 300 years ago. This time, they didn't come to observe. They came to harvest. Within hours, colonies began to fall. Communications blacked out. Automated probes showed cities being swallowed whole by tendrils. Entire atmospheres poisoned in minutes. There was no pattern, no negotiation, just annihilation. At the Earth Defense Assembly, panic was barely contained. Generals barked over one another. Civilian leaders demanded peace. No one could understand why the Vraxx came back now, or how they had reappeared so deep into human space without being seen. Then, someone whispered a name that hadn't been spoken aloud in over a century. "Activate the Leviathan Protocol." In a hidden hangar beneath Titan's frozen crust, buried beneath layers of deception and old war myths, EDS Leviathan stirred. It wasn't just a dreadnought. It was the dreadnought, the first of its kind, forged during the last Vraxx incursion and immediately sealed away when the war ended under mysterious terms. Powered by Ascension Warcore, armed with weapons Earth had long since outlawed, and embedded with the last relics of pre-collapse alien tech, it was both war machine and forbidden relic. The AI on board, designated Alpha 1, awoke. Directive confirmed. Vraxx presence verified. Leviathan Protocol authorized. Awakening host systems. Charging core. Preparing to ascend. The icy crust of Titan shattered as the Leviathan broke free of its underground dock like a god rising from an ancient tomb. Its armor gleamed matte black with pulsating blue veins running across its hull. The ship was more alive than mechanical now, an evolution of war and intelligence fused in silence. Within 30 minutes, it warped. Its destination, the Sigma 92 defense line. The last bastion before Earth itself. Out in deep space, Admiral Voss of the EDF Resolute was losing hope. "Vraxx fleets have bypassed half our sensor arrays," his officer reported. "They'll be at the Mars orbital yard in under an hour. We don't have the ships to stop them." The Admiral clenched his fists. Around him, the fleet was scrambling to maintain formation. Most of their cruisers were older than he was. They hadn't fought a real war in decades, defense budgets had shifted to science, diplomacy, colonization. Then the signal arrived. "This is EDS Leviathan. Assume secondary formation. Interdiction begins now." Space tore open. The Leviathan dropped into real space like a meteor wrapped in lightning. For a brief moment, even the Vraxx halted. Sensors went wild. The ship's signature wasn't just powerful, it was wrong. It registered as multiple mass fields. Part machine. Part organic. Part unknown. Admiral Voss stared at it in disbelief. By the void. I thought it was decommissioned. No one answered. The Leviathan moved. It didn't deploy fighters. It didn't wait for orders. It charged. Massive graviton anchors flared on its sides, creating distortion fields. Vraxx ships, even the largest hive beasts, were pulled off course, dragged into the Leviathan's kill zone. Weapons fired. Not missiles. Not plasma. Something else. Screaming beams of anti-energy ripped through space, slicing Vraxx ships in half, the wounds glowing as if cut by white suns. Others collapsed in on themselves, imploding into compressed singularities. Earth's fleet watched as an entire wing of the Vraxx formation was annihilated in under a minute. Then, something happened. From deep within the Leviathan, a pulse was emitted. Not a weapon. A signal. It wasn't directed at the Vraxx. It was sent outward. Into deep space. Admiral Voss saw it too. What the hell is it doing? Aboard the ship, Alpha 1 processed its centuries-old directive. The Leviathan protocol wasn't just about fighting the Vraxx. It was about activating the failsafe, a desperate alliance forged in secret with an unknown alien race during the last war. They were called only the Silent Architects, and Earth had sworn to never contact them again. Failsafe transmission, sent. Response window, 17 minutes. Probability of contact, 71%. As the battle raged, the Leviathan turned the tide. But it wasn't invincible. The Vraxx adapted. Hive minds shifted tactics. They began using entropy fields to dissolve parts of the dreadnought's armor. Bladed drones fused into larger, more intelligent predators. Damage alarms lit up across the ship. Hull breaches. Deck loss. System instability. But the Leviathan stood firm. At minute 16, something responded. The stars near the edge of the system blinked. Then twisted. A hole opened, vast, silent, and older than human civilization. And something stepped through. Not ships. Not creatures. Forms. Geometric, translucent, shifting like thoughts made solid. No one knew what they were. But when they arrived, the Vraxx screamed, not in triumph, but in terror. The new entities, calm and slow, began unraveling the Vraxx fleets with incomprehensible precision. One by one, the invaders fell back. Not in defeat. In fear. The Leviathan didn't celebrate. It sent a simple message to Earth's Council. Protocol succeeded. Vraxx retreating. But they will return. And next time, they will come ready for us. The rift should never have been opened. Dr. Isla Wren stood inside Observation Chamber Theta, watching the shimmering hole in space, wide-eyed and shaking. It pulsed like a wounded-eyed, veins of distorted light dancing along its rim. The rift hovered inside the experimental facility above Kepler 88b, a place built for scientific breakthroughs, not war. And yet, war had arrived. Energy spikes rising again, shouted one of her engineers. We need to shut it down now, or... Before he could finish, the rift tore wider, unnatural, alive. And through it, they came. The first Vraxx ship emerged like a screaming claw, its black carapace hissing against the pressure fields. The facility's defense systems triggered, but it was too late. The second Vraxx vessel followed, then a third, their jagged hulls humming with psychic feedback that tore through minds like knives. All across the station, alarms blared. People screamed. Fire suppression systems failed as the first wave of the Vraxx bored into the station's hull, unleashing boarding drones shaped like death incarnate. The rift, meant to explore safe, uninhabited parallel dimensions, had opened into something else. Within minutes, Kepler 88b's orbital lab became a slaughterhouse. 10 light-years away, Commander Ash Wheeler received the last transmission from Isla Wren. A scrambled, terrified plea. It's them. They're back. We opened something we weren't meant to. Don't try to save us. Just seal the rift. He stared at the dead screen in silence. The Vraxx were myth. Monsters of an ancient war. No sightings for over 300 years. No confirmed survivors from the colonies that first fell to them. Humanity had moved on. Forgotten. But now the stars themselves trembled with the memory of what they were. And then, impossibly, another signal came through. This one was from the rift. But it wasn't a Vraxx transmission. It wasn't a distress call. It was a signature and Earth military code, decades out of date. Ash recognized it instantly. ESS Eternity, classified as missing in action. Presumed destroyed 23 years ago, lost in an experimental warp drive accident near the Vega boundary. The dreadnought Earth had given up for dead, was alive. And it was coming home. Within hours, the Eternity emerged from the rift wounded, blackened, but somehow still functioning. Its arrival stopped the Vraxx mid-charge. As the monstrous alien vessels turned to engage the new target, Eternity's engines pulsed with unknown energy, its warp core surrounded by an iridescent halo. Its outer hull had changed. Grown. Evolved. Something had altered the ship while it was lost. Something not human. The dreadnought's weapons came online. Where once it had carried plasma lances and rail batteries, it now wielded dimensional disruptors, weapons designed to tear apart matter and reality. One shot from Eternity's spinal cannon erased 3 Vraxx cruisers, literally erased, as if they had never existed. Aboard the control bridge, Commander Ash transmitted a secure hail. Eternity, this is Commander Veeler, Earth Defense. Confirm identity. Confirm command chain. Silence. Then a voice responded. But it wasn't human. We are Eternity. We remember Commander Veeler. The crew is gone. We are what remains. And we are not alone. The words chilled him to the bone. The ship was talking. As if it had become something else. A fusion of machine, lost human memory, and whatever ancient intelligence had helped it survive. The battle raged. The Vraxx poured from the rift in greater numbers, but Eternity danced through space like a thing reborn. Its shields twisted attacks back toward the enemy. Its torpedoes burst into suns that fractured time itself. Smaller Earthships followed its wake, striking where the Eternity opened gaps. Ash watched as the once-lost dreadnought waged a kind of warfare humanity had never seen nor imagined. But it was also clear, this was a delaying tactic, not a solution. The Vraxx swarm was endless. Then Eternity spoke again. We can seal the rift. But you must understand, we are its anchor. If we leave, it remains open. If we stay, the Vraxx lose their doorway. Ash's blood ran cold. You're telling me you'll have to sacrifice yourself? A pause. Then. We do not die. We become. This universe is not ready for what follows the Vraxx. Let us end this here. The choice was made. Eternity charged its rift core to critical mass. Energy levels skyrocketed. The rift began to destabilize. Vraxx ships lunged toward it in desperation, trying to hold their gate open. Ash and his fleet fell back. Then, silence. The rift collapsed in on itself with a flash brighter than a sun, pulling Eternity and the remaining Vraxx inside. Then it vanished. Nothing remained. Just cold stars. Quiet. 2 weeks later, the Earth Defense Council declared the Kepler Rift incident resolved. Officially, the Eternity had been recovered and sacrificed in the line of duty. Unofficially, there were rumors. Whispers from the last transmission logs. Of voices layered in static. Of a strange promise before the rift collapsed. This was only one path. We have sealed it. But the Vraxx are searching for others. Ash stood alone, gazing into space from the orbital command station. He had lost half his fleet. Hundreds dead. One ship, no longer human, lost to the void. But the stars were quiet again. For now.